it's very humbling, and it's depressing, and I would never wish this on anybody.
This is a new world to Angela. Like many homeless people, she prefers not to give her last name, and like many of those on the streets, she does not fit easily into stereotypes. Angela has a college degree from DePaul, but after some personal setbacks, she took her 7-year-old daughter and turned to the streets.
It's really scary, because I never thought I would be in this position. I have a degree from DePaul.
Angela grew up in the Chicago suburbs and graduated from DePaul in 1996. But after years of living in an abusive relationship, Angela says she had to leave. She's tried going to shelters, but says that they're too dangerous for her and her daughter.
I haven't been to one that I consider safe enough for her. There are a couple domestic violence shelters for families I'm trying to get into, but there's long waiting lists, and it is winter, and everybody is, been on these waiting lists longer than me.
The city of Chicago recommends that those who are homeless should call 311. The operators will direct them to a nearby shelter, but Angela says she was robbed at the shelter the city recommended to her.
So since you don't go to shelters, where do you sleep at night?
On the L. I feel like it's safer for me to ride the trains at night, which that isn't really even safe, but it's the better of at least there's a conductor there, at least there's somewhere a button I can push if something happens.
While her daughter stays at a friend's home, Angela sits at the street corners, asking for money, just hoping to get by. And she's not the only one. Last year, the Department of Family Support Services estimated that nearly 7,000 people are homeless in the city of Chicago. That number is growing. The latest city survey shows that homeless population has risen by roughly 8% since 2013. Much of the homeless population live in shelters, in parks, in cars, or in just whatever place they can find in the city, like here under the Wilson Avenue Viaduct along Lakeshore Drive. In Chicago, the homeless are not necessarily abandoned. Some organizations are trying hard to help. Streetwise is a magazine that is sold mainly by homeless people trying to get some type of income. But Executive Director Julie Youngquist says that Streetwise offers a hand up, not a handout. And she says selling the magazine on the street is no easy task.
It's not an easy job at all. It is very difficult to stand out there for hours and face rejection. They can sometimes have 150 people walk past them.
Streetwise was founded by a group of concerned leaders in Chicago to assist the homeless population. The magazine is published weekly and contains Chicago-centric, socially conscious content.
We have an editor and a creative director who produce all of the content.
Youngquist says Streetwise helps the homeless earn an income with dignity and gives them the opportunity to get jobs and housing.
We do an orientation 2 days a week. They get a badge, they learn the code of conduct, they get some sales tips, and we send them out the door with 15 free magazines to get started. Well, that's John.
John is among the 150 Streetwise vendors across the city. He's been with the organization for 2 years and has worked through some rough winters in Chicago.
You gotta put Vaseline on your skin before you go out. You gotta dress, bundle up warm, layers of jacket, layers of long underwear, and shoes, boots. It's a lot to put on.
John, like many other homeless people, must find ways to stay warm. In addition to shelters provided by the city, homeless Chicagoans can find help at places like Two Little Fishes.
Well, whatever you heard about homeless folks, man, when you came down here, forget about it. Homelessness can happen to anybody.
Located in the basement of the People's Church in the Uptown neighborhood, Two Little Fishes serves up food for the homeless and hungry almost every day. Isaac Baratine has been the program director since 2006. He overlooks a part-time staff of cooks and volunteers. They feed about 300 guests each week. Baratine says he knows well what homeless people are going through because he's been on the streets himself.
Because I believe that when I was homeless, God had me in on-the-job training for what I'm doing right now. Been working with me for about 10 years.
Baratine says he's passionate about cooking and really tries to make this shelter feel like home for the residents like Emmanuel.
It's a blessing. You get a hot meal, you get to warm yourself, you don't have to ride the L all night or sleep in abandoned buildings or cars or buses or nothing like that.
Emmanuel says he's also been to shelters that the city recommends.
I was at Pacific Guard Mission for 3 or 4 months, and people were coming in and out of the doors like crazy. Every night they had at least at this time of year it's so overfilled to they sleeping people on the floor. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
Other residents like George frequent Two Little Fishes.
How often do you come here?
I come here every day. Every day.
At Two Little Fishes, some of those seeking shelter blame their plight on cutbacks in social services caused by the budget stalemate in Springfield. The organization's director worries that the public gets the wrong impression about the homeless.
It also irks them and me when they're walking down the street just minding their business. They get caught at a red light and a car has to stop for that red light while this person is at the corner, and they hear the door locks click because the person inside the car think that maybe they're just going to try to take the car or jack the car or whatever. It irks me to walk down the street and see a lady coming towards me, and as we're approaching each other, getting ready to pass each other, she just kind of grabs her purse a little bit tighter, like I was gonna take it and run. That irks me, and it irks those guys. And at the end of the day, all they want to do is talk about how that made them feel.
Many of those who volunteer here now have a different view.
Just because you're homeless, that don't mean that you illiterate or you don't have no morals or you just a person just don't have anything. You got all that behind you. This just a time in your life that you had a setback and you can change.
Despite all the misconceptions, those who work with homeless people say they inspire them every day.
We don't call them homeless down here. They're human, just like you and I.
It's just, they're incredible. They're incredible people with incredible stories trying to accomplish great things against great odds.
Like Angela, the DePaul University graduate, the homeless in Chicago defy easy labels. But as the latest city survey suggests, their numbers are growing every day. Reporting for Good Day DePaul, I'm Nick.Buffo.